Karen is doing really well.
I was just this second talking to her. I asked her to come on if she can.
Great. All right, there
Yeah.
you are. Live on YouTube. Zulma
All
Gonzalez,
right.
this mic is all yours.
Well, I thank you, thank you, thank you. And a magnificent, majestic, momentous, monumental Monday to each and every only one of us. There's only one of us. Remember, there's only one. It's a beautiful day. It is the 1st of April. It's April Fool's Day. And with that, since yesterday was Easter and today is April Fool's Day, I got one. A farmer, oh, good, Karen's here. A farmer decided to play a joke on his rooster because it was Easter. While the rooster was out and about, the farmer replaced all the eggs with colored eggs. The rooster comes back, looks at the eggs, and went searching for the peacock to kick his butt. Think about it. Think about it. Peacock, get it? Colors. All right. Anyway, um, I I thought it was really funny. I wanted to share. So Karen, good morning. She's here. Lynn is here. I think I saw Carrie on the Pal Talk. Let me check. I see Carrie. I see Idelos. And welcome, welcome, welcome. Hi, Carrie. Good to see you. Uh, so yeah. So on Thursday, well, let me go to our usual intro. Um, our usual intro to remember, of course, to mind our own mind, not someone else's, because the course reminds us that it is hazardous to try to analyze the motives of another. Oh, that's the big one. It is hazardous. Lynn, I need the screen share, please. Oh, I got it. Thank you. Um, it is hazardous to re to try to analyze the motives of another. So, remembering, of course, to mind our mind. Dr. Ernest Holmes teaches us that to learn how to think is to learn how to live. We reminded that this is a course in mind training. The course teaches us this is a course in mind training, that all learning involves attention and study at some level. And the reason for that, as the course also teaches, that an untrained mind accomplishes nothing. And Dr. Holmes also reminds us that thoughts and things are but two ends of the same proposition. Since it is impossible to stop thinking, we cannot stop creating. Our choice is whether we shall create constructively or destructively, which in the course we call it creating if it's coming from the spiritual realm, from if we're thinking with God, and making what we make if we're talking about focusing on the tangibles. Um, and that particular quote is important because we're going to continue with the concept of mental equivalence, the law actually of mental equivalence. It is fact that if you think this way, then this is what you're going to manifest. And if you think that way, this is what you're going to manifest. If you're thinking with the ego thought system, then you're doomed to fail. You're doomed to fail. If you're living in the poor me section of your life, if you're living in the poor me section of your life, it'll always be poor you because you're putting energy into that very thing. What's the expression? Um, um, what you think about expands. That's not the expression. Something that rhymes. I can't think of it right now. Um, where energy flows, that's what grows, or something to that effect. So thoughts or things are but two ends of the same proposition. If we're living in a focusing on the Holy Spirit thought system, if we're thinking from the Holy Spirit thought system, we are asking ourselves for growth. We are asking ourselves for magnanimity, as opposed to thinking small. Um, our grandeur versus our grandiosity. I don't know why I was trying to make that in my mind, something with M's, but it's G's, grandeur versus grandiosity. And I was, for some reason, I was coming up with the M's. I was trying to include it in my Monday morning, magnificent, majestic, and all that. And I couldn't do it because that's not the way it goes. It says grandeur versus grandiosity. And since no days of the week start with G, that's not going to happen. And I'm still having fun. I'm having fun today. I'm having fun today because I want to. I had a chance to sing yesterday at at service, and that was fun. I did. I sang Leanne Rimes' "I Hope You Dance." I love that song. I love that song. I love that song. I first heard it during the funeral ceremony, the celebration of life ceremony that was done for Dale Earnhardt on television after he made his transition, and I absolutely fell in love with the song. And then we had a young lady named Amanda who used to sing it at the center, and she had a much more. She had a trained voice. My voice is not trained. The best I can do is hold my note. I don't call myself a singer. I just sing. And at our center, we have what we call the hidden talent. So like on the fifth Sunday, where there's only few of them in the year, um, I get an opportunity to strut my stuff. I am known to change the lyrics of songs, though. I'm known for doing that. So besides singing, "I Hope You Dance," the way she, the way the original way, I also did my rendition of Uptown Funk. And it's called "It's All God." And if you want to hear it, you'll have to go to the centerpiece dash CSL on uh, YouTube. Yesterday's service. But anyway, or I can send you a link to it. You let me know. There's other places where I've sung it before. But anyway, I was having fun yesterday. I'm still in fun mode. Lovable has been making me play with him first thing this morning. I am in fun mode today. But so today we're just going to have fun. We're going to continue with mental equivalence. And the first quotes that I have for today is from Ernest Holmes, where he says, having a strong picture of a mental concept and holding to that equivalent regardless of circumstances or conditions, we must sooner or later manifest according to the concept. And that's, what we're saying is that what we see, what's outside of us is not real. It's not real because it's temporary. We have to get a hold of what it is that we know on the inside, not just believe, but what we know on the inside. And follow that and follow that and follow that. In the Bible, it talks about keeping the eyes single, keeping your eyes single. If you're, if it, and and we know that Jesus always, his focus was always on the Father. That's only the Father, which is why he was able to say that I and the Father are one. It's written that he said, I and the Father are one. And in that oneness, then we're all one. The Course reminds us that what you do comes from what you think. What you do comes from what you think, the mental equivalent. What you see comes from what you think. You cannot separate yourself from the truth by attempting to give autonomy to behavior. It's not a matter of something just happened. Oh, it just happened. Nothing just happens. As much as we would, for me, I have difficulty sometimes figuring out or trying to just accept. Let me say it that way because I can't figure it out. Trying to accept that some physical conditions that people are born with or what have you are something that we didn't have anything to do with. I mean, I'm thinking that the position of a person of a baby in the womb may have had an effect on how a baby's body is shaped. Whatever. I don't know. I didn't make that up. I have a hard time accepting that sometimes. Um, and but I'm working on it more and more, accepting that everything that has ever occurred, everything that has occurred in this physical realm is something that comes from its mental equivalent. That I have something to do with it mentally. So what you do comes from what you think. You cannot separate yourself from the truth by, quote, giving, close quote, autonomy to behavior. And Emmett Fox says that what you attend to or concentrate upon, wait a minute, what you attend to or concentrate upon, you bring into your life because you are building a mental equivalent. And that is from his book titled The Mental Equivalent by Emmett Fox. And I believe that's where the term originated, but I don't know. In those days, they didn't have copyright laws. So it was quite easy to quote literally verbatim what someone else wrote and get away with it. Today, I mean, I've seen things like the difference between the sentence that Ernest Holmes has in the definitive edition, cause and effect uh, really are one or something like that. And then in the course, it just says that cause and effect are one. Same thing, minus a word or two. And because of that word or two, it's not considered verbatim and it can be used and not violate copyright. I think that's interesting how that works and happens. And titles are never copyrightable. You can't copyright a title. So you may hear of a song, different songs or book titles, have the same title because they can't be copyrighted. But back in the day when there were no copyright laws, one can quite easily uh, quote verbatim what someone else said. Although most of the time, Dr. Ernest does attribute who he's quoting, and as does Joe Goldsmith. I'm looking finding more about his history, and seeing a lot of the similarities in terms of what these people studied, and it's just phenomenal. It's phenomenal, and of course we know that um, Helen Schuckman's mother studied Christian Science. So we had we had Ernest Holmes, Joel Goldsmith, and Helen Schuckman's mother, who all studied Christian Science, and a lot of it I can see in the writings. Anyway, um, that's that. Dr. Ernest and Michael Beckwith from How to Change Your Life. The quote, what God thinks, he energizes. And from Emmett Fox again, there can be no sickness without fear. You cannot be adversely affected by anything if you really have no fear concerning it. That's interesting. There can be no sickness without fear. You cannot be adversely affected by anything if you really have no fear concerning it. I was just talking to my friend Karen this morning, and I was just saying to her that the pain that she's experiencing now is a healing pain compared to the pain that she was experiencing prior to surgery. And it's just as I hear her talking about it, I'm actually quote happy for this pain because this is the post-op pain. This is the moving toward recovery pain. This is uh, every step she takes where she feels it. It's moving towards healing. The fact that she went from not being able to take a step to sidestepping. I was telling her um, when she was talking about sidestepping, I pictured her dancing. Right, this is me. Right, I'm seeing this. Right, um, and I will see that in her own rhythm, and days to come. In days to come, I'm looking forward to watching Karen do a sidestep. We'll do it together. We'll do it to maybe a song by Karen Drucker or Eddie Watkins Jr. or whatever. But anyway, um, you cannot be adversely affected by anything if you really have no fear concerning it. All apparent evil is the result of ignorance and will disappear to the degree that it is no longer thought about, believed in, or indulged in. It is the um, one of the declarations from Dr. Holmes says that he believes in the freedom from discord of all nature for everyone, that is sure to be attained by, that the day will come. And even the Course teaches that, you know, the sonship will be the oneness of it will be recognized by all. It will be recognized by all. It has to be. It has to be. It could be no other way. Otherwise, it would be fragmented. It couldn't be one. Right now, it seems fragmented because this one is thinking that appears to be thinking that way, and that one is thinking that way. But we know that only the thoughts we think with God are the real thoughts. Only the thoughts that are going with the stream and not against it are the real thoughts. They're the only ones that can bring peace. That's the only way that the mental equivalent can be one of I'm feeling good, I'm seeing good, I'm doing good. You know that see no evil, feel no, what is it? See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. You know, to the point where those aren't the word evil doesn't even become a word anymore. Because in truth, there is no evil. It's all love. It is all love because it's either an extension of love or it's a call for love. In all cases, it's love. And as long as we see it that way, as long as we see it that way and we don't look out and say, oh, that person is, doing it this and they're not doing that. And oh, and listen to with all that crap that the other person is saying and all that. When we can just look at it and see it as a call for love, then we stop being judges and we are able to become truly helpful. And Wayne Dyer, I believe I read this the other day. I'm going to read it again. Let go of your demands along with your beliefs that you can't be happy because of what is supposedly missing in your life. Insisting that you need what you don't have is insane. I love that statement. I love that statement. Insisting that you need what you don't have is insane. The fact that you're okay without what you think you need is the change you want to see. Then you can note that you already have everything you need to be peaceful, happy, and content right here and right now. Relax into this knowing. The Course teaches us that being and having are the same. I am, therefore I have. I have, therefore I am. Nothing is lacking, nothing is missing. And for me to insist that what I need, that what I don't have, that's wish world. You know what I say? Wish world is not a real place. That's a Zulmaism. I love that. Wish world is not a real place. The Course teaches that fantasy is a form um, fantasy is a distortion of reality, and that's very early in the Course. And I want to see if I can find that. It's one of my favorite paragraphs. It's very early on. It's in chapter 2, section 7, distortion of miracle impulses, where it reads that fantasy is a distorted form of vision. Fantasies of any kind are distortions because they always involve twisting perception into unreality. Actions that stem from distortions are literally the reactions of those who know not what they do. Clueless, because I'm acting based on something that's not real. Fantasy is an attempt to control reality according to false needs. Twist reality in any way, and you are perceiving destructively. Remember the mental equivalent. I'm twisting reality. I am I'm being destructive. I'm perceiving destructively. Fantasies are a means of making false associations and attempting to obtain pleasure from them. I am telling myself, oh, how wonderful it would be if the second you go into if mode, you know that you're not in reality. You're in the hypothetics, in the hypothetic land, the land of the hypothetics. You're in the land of the hypothetics and it's not real, and it's going to cause you pain because when you go into if world, then you are enjoying, quote quote, enjoying what's not real, and then you're saying that what is real is not to be enjoyed. You're basically saying that what God's creation isn't isn't right. You're making judgment on it, and the course tells us that our minds are sick. So, um, when we think sickly, we act sickly, we believe sickly, we live sickly, and we actually make situations that can harm us. Insisting that you need what you don't have is insane. I love that sentence. I'm not going to read any more from that for right now. I'm going to go to the section in the Science of Mind. Let me stop the share and go into another share. In the Science of Mind textbook, the definitive edition by Dr. Ernest Holmes, the section titled See Life Expressed. And it reads thus: one should analyze himself, saying, do I look at myself from a standpoint of restriction? Do I see life limited to the eternal round of getting up in the morning, eating, going to work, coming home, going to bed, sleeping, getting up again, and so on? Break the bonds of apparent necessity and see life as one continuous expression of the infinite self. We are the infinite self. We are what the infinite self is. And as this conception gradually dawns upon the inner thought, something will happen in the outer conditions to relieve the greater demands of necessity. Free yourself forever from the thought that God may be pleased by a life of sacrifice, that the world is any better because of your misery. That's funny to me. No, the world is not better because of your misery. Oh no, what? That again? I don't want to hear it. That the world is better because of your misery, or that righteousness is more perfectly expressed in poverty, rather, that the righteousness is more perfectly expressed through poverty than abundance. Know that this is grandeur versus grandiosity. Know that the greater abundance of every good thing which you are bringing out in your life, the more perfectly you are satisfying the capital D, capital U, the divine urge within you. Anything you can dream of is not too great for you to undertake. I remember Karen talking about the surgery and how good she felt about having the surgery. And there was a strength in her, there was a power in her voice. And it was just yes, yes, yes. And the universe always says yes. So as she was saying yes right along with the universe was saying yes to her. So when I got the phone call from the doctor that said that the surgery went great, he didn't just say it went okay. No, 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 no. He said it went great. There was enthusiasm in his voice, and it was the same enthusiasm that I heard in her voice prior to surgery when we were on our way to the hospital. Anything you can dream of is not too great for you to undertake if it hurts no man and brings happiness and good into your life. If you were good, if one were doing the work he should be doing, he would never become tired, because the energy which holds the universe in place is tireless. The energy which holds the universe in place is tireless. The reason we become tired, the Course calls it wearying ourselves. The reason we become tired is that we have cross currents of thought about our work. There we go. We are wearying ourselves. We are thinking, the Course talks about, there's a section where it talks about um, doing something that you really don't want to do, and the conflict that goes with that. We're wearying ourselves. This arises from a belief in duality. There we go. A belief in good and evil. And good is always, it's capitalized here. Good is capitalized, and the word evil is not. Good is truth and evil isn't. In treating, that is, in affirmative prayer, we conceive of the ultimate, of the idea, but never of the process. Never treat a process. In other words, we can't pray about conditions. We can't pray that that thing out there gets better. We can't pray that that situation out there gets better. The Course teaches there's no point in lamenting what's out there because what's out there is incapable of change. There is a point in looking at our thoughts about it because in that we are looking at the cause. I'm just rewording. This is what the Course teaches. This is what straight out of the Course. We're looking at the cause. When we change the cause, which is our thoughts, when I look at it different, when I choose to see it differently, then everything changes. Everything changes because, as the Course also teaches, it is the outward picture of an inward condition. What's going on out there, no matter what it is, no matter what it is coming from in here. And it's not that that thing out there is not happening. It's how I'm choosing to see that thing, no matter what it is. There's something in the chat. Let me see what's going on here. Yes, yes, yes. Straighten my mind, my father. It is sick from workbook lesson 346. Absolutely. Absolutely. And Lynn wrote, you are not really capable of being tired, but you are very capable of wearying yourself. Thank you, Lynn, posting that. The strain of constant judgment is virtually intolerable. It is curious that an ability so debilitating would be so deeply appreciated. We're doing this to ourselves. And Wayne Dyer writes, it's insane. I'm hurting myself thinking that something should be some way that it's not. Oh, I stayed in a job and there were, um, I just read what you read about Easter candy, Lynn. I stayed in a job for 40 years, 2 months and 24 days that most of the time I didn't like it. Most of the time, did not. Uh, However, there were lots of benefits when I look back, and even at the time when I was in it, I could see where I was gaining. Because of in that job, I had an opportunity to write plays to express creativity, to get my creative juices flowing, to to write poetry, to keep my creative juices flowing, to be able to give talks because I was a Hispanic program specialist for 6 years in a position that was only supposed to be a 2-year position. I had an opportunity to express myself, to get creative juices flowing, to let the inner me express, to be truly helpful, and situations like that. So there were a lot of times I was an acting supervisor for 6 years as well. So there were a lot of things that were enjoyable. I won't say that the acting supervisor's job was always enjoyable, but there was a lot. I gained a lot. I was able to learn to appreciate parts of myself that I would never have been able to do had I not been in that position. So, but overall, I don't know, I should say and overall, uh, the job itself, it was it was manual labor. It was a postal factory, and there was a lot of physical stuff that went with it. And I have, some physical things that, that my body feels as a result of that. But, it is what it is. The point is that I wearied myself thinking that was something I had to do. I have to stay here. Oh, how would I, how would I have an income? And I kept thinking that, that my supply, that everything had to come from that job, and it didn't. Being and having are the same. I get that. I get that. I get that. I get that today. Being and having are the same. I have always had what I needed. I've always had more than what I needed. Which is why I have owned too much stuff today. I've always had more than what I needed, and slowly, slowly, slowly releasing. Just looking at stuff. When is the last time you used that, Zulma? Get rid of it. When's the last time you used that, Zulma? Get rid of it. Oh my God, I hadn't even seen that in years. Why is it still here? But being and having are the same. I was wearying myself. Um, Let me go back. In treating, we conceive of the ultimate of the idea. I'm reading from Dr. Holmes again. We conceive the ultimate of the idea, but never of the process. And this is where I was. Never treat a process. I can't treat what's going on out there. We plant a seed, and there is in the seed, operating through the creative soil, everything that will cause it to develop, unfold, and produce a plant. Before I go any further, I'm gonna see what's in the chat because I don't want the thoughts to get too far away from each other. Um, and yes, Karen was saying that the strain of constant judgment wearies. Yes, the strain of constant judgment. The strain of constant judgment. Insane and strain rhyme with you. They rhyme. The strain is insane. The strain is insane. But yet we won't budge to judge. The strain is insane, yet we won't budge to judge. That's coming up. Watch it. It's coming up. The scarcity principle, thinking that that's never enough. Yes, thinking it's never enough. But and not only that, not only with material things, we think of ourselves as not being enough. We compare ourselves to something where out there. We're comparing ourselves to something out there and thinking that that's better than me. That person, or they have more than me. They look better than me. They are more eloquent than I am. They express them, they all that nonsense. And Ralph Waldo Emerson says that imitation is suicide. I'm killing myself trying to be someone that I'm not. I see your hand, Karen. Go ahead, love.
Yeah, it also goes along with joining you and just adding on to what you shared. It also goes along with comparing yourself to how you used to be, right? I was talking to a friend last night, a course student friend on the phone, and she was telling me how, she was comparing herself to how she used to be, and that will always cause misery. It's only right here, right now. We cannot cut. Love makes no comparisons. And when I compare myself to how I used to be, I'm not living in the present moment. I am not in the holy instant. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have a friend who's doing the same thing. And I'm saying, well, you're not, listen, you didn't think that you would get to be the age you are doing some of the stuff that you used to do. Just that alone, that gives you a reason to be grateful. And there are things that you can do now because you think differently. You have a greater level of maturity that you would not have been able to do back then. So what are you talking about? Shut up already. Yeah, I get to say that. I can say that and say it in laughter and get laughter from it because it's known that I mean no harm. I mean no harm at all. Um, and it worked, and they agree. You know what? You're right. Yeah, you're right. No, it's not about being right. It's just about how do you feel? How does that make you feel? And that's what you said talking about, Karen. How does that make you feel? If I'm looking at myself compared to how I used to be, and it's not making me feel good, the course teaches that all of your past is gone except the beauty is what's left. So if I compare myself in 2018 when I had the Great Fall, that's what I call it, the Great Fall, and I tore the quadricep and the retinacular and all that stuff. I can compare that to how I am now and how I can walk a mile, 2 miles, 3 miles that I couldn't before. Yeah, that's all right comparison. That's a great comparison because there was that period of time when I had to wear that brace. I couldn't walk anywhere. I couldn't. I can even run just a tiny, tiny bit now. I can like run across the street. I couldn't do that. I remember in 2018, 2019, 2020, I couldn't do that. 21 even, I couldn't do that. So the fact that those are comparisons, that's fine. It's fine. If you're looking at something that was how you didn't want it to be, and it is now how you do want it to be, and you're feeling better about it's the mental equivalent. And I will keep walking for that reason because there was a period of time when I could not. Oh dear God, that was a story in itself. But anyway, I'll continue reading. The ultimate of effect is already potential in its cause. Let me go back. We're talking about the planting the seeds. Let's make it in context here. We plant a seed, and there is in the seed, operating through the creative soil, everything that will cause it to develop, unfold, and produce a plant. In other words, being and having are the same. The ultimate of effect is already potential in its cause, which is saying everything that we need is already right here. It's already here. This is the mystical meaning of the words I am Alpha and Omega. Our word for the fullest expression of our life, or for its smallest detail, should be the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end of the thing thought of. All cause and effect are in spirit. They are bound together in one complete whole. And this is where, when people talk in the course, where course students staunchly say that something isn't real, I take that with a grain of salt, because the course isn't talking about, as I see it, isn't talking about the fact that, as I was just talking about the situation with my leg, that situation didn't occur. It occurred. It happened when it happened. Now, how I think about it, I'm reminded continually, and I say it every time I come here, that this is a course in mind training. It's not a course in changing, telling myself that what's happening, that thing out there didn't happen, because that's magic thinking to me. That's insane. Telling myself that didn't happen. I was just supposed to get right up and start walking when I had a torn this, and I literally could not walk. I had to be whatever, right to the emergency room, all that. The cause and the effect are one. The course teaches that the cause and effect are one. So the effect is what's out there. But that's what it's teaching me is to realize that what's out there has to do with what's in here. That I am the cause of the effects. But the effects themselves are real enough, as Dr. Holmes puts it. Real enough. He says it like that. But it's temporary. I get that. The effects are temporary. The cause is eternal. But this cause that I'm calling Zulma is temporary as well. The first cause, as Dr. Holmes calls it, the first cause, capital F, capital C, first cause is always the creator, always. But all cause, and this is small c, and effect, small e, are in capital S, spirit. They are bound together in one complete whole. And Joel Goldsmith says the exact same thing. One is the inside, the other the outside of the same thing, which goes back to that quote that with which I start every time, that thoughts and things are but two ends of the same proposition. Two ends of the same proposition. So Dr. Holmes continues. Is there more stuff going on in the chat? There's stuff going on in the chat. Oh, it's active. It's active. I like it. I'm going back. Let's see. Yeah, would you rather be right than happy? Okay. The Holy Spirit only knows the present moment. Yes, now is all there is. Now is the only aspect of time that has meaning. And there's a sentence that says, now has no meaning to the ego. That's in the Function of Time, chapter 13, section 4, the function of time. Now has no meaning to the ego. That was part of my revelatory when the course opened itself to me. That's exactly where it came from. That now has no meaning to the ego. It states that the ego has a strange notion of time. The ego invests heavily in the past, and in the end believes that the past is the only aspect of time that is meaningful. Its emphasis on guilt, that's the ego, enables it to ensure its continuity by making the future like the past and thus avoiding the present. By the notion of paying for the past in the future, the past becomes the determiner of the future, making them continuous without an intervening present. For the ego regards the present only as a brief transition to the future in which it brings the past to the future by interpreting the present in past terms. The ego interprets the present in past terms. The example that Karen just gave about her friend and mine as well, comparing the way it used to be, comparing what is to the way it used to be. Oh, it should be the way it used to be. It should be the way it was in the past. That should be the case now. That should be the case. I'm coming undone. Hey, hey, my head wrap is it part of the atonement principle. It was coming undone as I spoke. Um, all healing occurs in the present. There is no guilt. We're not guilty. I'm reading from the chat now from Karen and Lynn. Not guilty. The cause of the dream is the dreamer. Yes, the cause of the dream is the dream. Anything that I'm seeing else. I made this. I made my own world. I have invented the world I see. Workbook lesson 32. I have invented the world I see. I'm doing this. And Karen writes, we train our mind to reverse the projection, moment to moment practice. Yes, yes, just to be willing to see it differently. Above all else, I want to see things differently. I want to see life differently. I want to see myself differently. I want to see the world differently. In order to see the world differently, I have to see myself differently. I have to recognize that I am not this body, that I am spirit, and this is the mental equivalent. When I realize, as I recognize, as I practice that I am spirit, that I am here only to be truly helpful, not only to you out there, quote, quote, out there, but to me. I have to be truly helpful to myself. Forgiving you, forgiveness as forgive me mine as I forgive yours. In the same manner that I forgive yours, I have to forgive mine. We're taught to love my neighbor as myself. I have to look in here first before I can even look at my neighbor, because I'm only going to treat you according to how I feel. It's written in the Bible that Jesus said that what comes from the heart, what comes out of the mouth is what's in the heart. What comes out of the mouth is what's in the heart. My loose translation is what comes out of a person is what's in a person. What's coming out of me is the way I perceive myself. And if I see myself as unworthy, I have to see you and everything else as unworthy too. I have to compare. I have to look at it at the way it should be. And there I go in the should house again. Now has no meaning to the ego. It says here, the present merely reminds it of past hurts, and it regards the present as if it were the past. The ego cannot tolerate release from the past, and although the past is over, the ego tries to preserve its image by responding as if it were present. It dictates your reactions to those you meet in the present from a past reference point, be it myself or others, obscuring their present reality. In other words, I can't see you for who you are if I'm trying to see you for who you were. And such was the case with Mommy. I couldn't see her for the person that she actually was because I was too busy, looking at her for the person that she used to be. And once it became clear, this was all where it opened up for me. It says, if you follow the ego's dictates, in effect, I just realized that's how that sentence starts. In effect, if you follow the ego's dictates, you will react to your brother as though he were someone else. That is, you will react to them as if they were who they used to be, as though he were someone else, and this will surely prevent you from recognizing him as he is. And on and on. And it goes on to say that the shadowy figures from the past, the shadowy figures. This is the first time I had heard this term about the shadows. When I heard that came later on with different writings and different people. But the first time I came across this term was right here in chapter 13, section 4 of the course in paragraph 6. The shadowy figures from the past are precisely what you must escape. They are not real and have no hold over you unless you bring them with you. That was an amazing sentence to me. An amazing sentence. I'm reading this, and at this point, I was dripping. I was dripping. It was ice melting. This hard chunk of ice that was preventing me from having a relationship with my mother, and it started melting and melting and melting. And I'm reading, and I'm crying, and I'm crying, and I'm reading. They are not real and have no hold over you unless you bring them with you. We're talking about the past. The past. Karen wrote, "The past is over. Can't touch me. It can touch me not." The past carry the spots of pain in your mind, directing you to attack in the present in retaliation for what is no more. In retaliation for a past that is no more. And this decision is one of future pain. I'm telling you, as I'm reading this, I'm seeing mommy, I'm seeing me, and me constantly. No matter what she said, I snapped. No matter what she said, I yelled. No matter what she said, I told her I hated her. It was horrific. I'm so grateful today. The mental equivalent. The mental equivalent. I believed that she was someone else, and I treated her according to how I believed. And I believed that because of how I felt about myself. I hated me. I had quote reasons to hate me because of things that had occurred and all that kind of stuff. So I thought I wasn't worthy. I thought that she should have this and she should have that and she should have the other. Unless you learn, the Course teaches, that past pain is an illusion, you are choosing a future of illusions and losing the many opportunities you could find for release in the present. Mm. Mm. The ego, which is the made up mind, this is a made up thought system. The ego would preserve your nightmares, and prevent you from awakening and understanding they are past. And that's where I had to stop, because the next sentence said something about holy encounter, and I didn't know anything about the Course to know what a holy encounter was. So I stopped right there. I didn't know what that meant, a holy encounter. That was the day, December 7th, 1992. December 7th, 1992. And I put that in my book, and I went to the beginning of the book and I wrote December 7th, 1992. And that's when I started reading the Course in the beginning. My gosh. And it was just me. There was nobody else. It was the first edition of the Course, and then it was just me. I didn't know that they were. It's interesting. You figure if Marianne Williamson, because I read A Return to Love, um, she had written this book. She didn't write it just for me, but but as far as I was concerned, it was. And I thought the course had to be just for me too. And it said it was a self-study course, so I had no reason to think that there were other groups out there. No clue. I had no clue. It was the late 1990s. No, 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 no. I was early in the 2000s before I first found a course group. So for 7, 8 years at least, I was reading the course on my own. But anyway, hi, Michaela. Good to see you. Good to see you. We are continuing with, and yes, Karen, my mother was absolutely, she was the perfect teacher, because for me, she was the God. She was the idol. She was the person. She was the crucifiers. If we use the Bible story, I was the one being crucified, and she was the crucifier. And the greatest possible, the worst possible thing that could have ever been was that relationship. And when I was able to honestly say, I forgive you because you know not what you do. I forgive myself for thinking you were supposed to do it differently. when I was truly able to say that. Oh my God. Oh, Dr. Collins couldn't keep me. He was finished with me. He said, "You got it." I came with it. The week after I read this, he said to me, if you look at what role you played, you'd see there was nothing to forgive. And the next week, next week I took the course with him and read this one I just read to you to him. He says, "You got it," and he kept me for a few more sessions, and I was dismissed. Anyway, um, I'll read just a little bit more. I'm reading back from Dr. Holmes in the section called See Life Expressed. Never let anything cause you to doubt your ability to demonstrate the truth. Conceive of your word as being the thing. In other words, when you look out there, be willing to tell yourself the truth of it. In here, see the desire as an already accomplished fact. The Course says, do only this. And Dr. Ernest says, turn away from the condition. Don't ask for what you don't want. You don't say, I hope such and such doesn't happen. Say what you want. I'm looking forward to such and such happening. Say what you want, not what you don't want. Oh, I hope this doesn't happen. Oh, I sure hope I don't hurt myself. Oh, I sure hope it doesn't rain. Oh, I sure hope. Why are we focusing on things we don't want? The universe only hears rain, want rain, want to hurt myself. That's what the universe is hearing. The universe is saying yes, and it's confusing when you're trying to talk about what you don't want. Isn't it what Wayne Dyer just said? How do you say that? Let's read that again because I like that part. Wayne Dyer said, insisting that you need what you don't have is insane. It's the same thing. You're asking for what you don't want. It's insane. Conceive of the word as being the thing. See the desire as an already accomplished fact and rest in perfect confidence, peace, and certainty. These are words, certainty. That's a word that comes up in the Course, and it's always the word God is right there with that. It's certainty. Rest in the perfect certainty, rest in perfect confidence, peace, and certainty, never looking for results, never wondering, never becoming anxious, never being hurried nor worried. That sounds like a tough task, but practice, practice, practice. Say out loud, I want to see this differently. Say out loud, I can see peace instead of this. Say out loud, there's another way of me seeing this thing. Say out loud, I invented this thing. And you can invent it and you can undo, undo, undo. This is what atonement is about. Undo. I can take it apart, like crocheting, like I was saying, using as the example, crocheting a sweater or something, and you see where there was a stitch that wasn't right, and the only way to fix it, the only way, is to undo, and start pulling that yarn apart and pulling that yarn apart and pulling that yarn off and bringing it apart until you get there, and then you can see it differently. You can change it. It's your invention. You can reinvent. What Ernest Holmes says is what mind can do, it can undo. That's what the Course is teaching. Those who do not understand this attitude may think you are inactive, but remember, to him who can perfectly practice inaction, all things are possible. What does the Course teach? I need do nothing. I need do nothing. I plant the seed. I don't go digging it back up to see how much, has the seed, has it popped yet? Is there sprouts yet? You don't go digging it back up. You plant the seed and you trust. That's when you rely upon spirit totally. You trust. Let it be. Let it be. Those are words of wisdom. Let it be. To him who can perfectly practice inaction, all things are possible. I'm going to stop there, that part anyway, and see what's in the chat. Um, It's good to see you too, Michaela. Michaela, we're talking about the mental equivalent. We're talking continually about the mental equivalent, that how we think determines how we live. And how Ernest Holmes had said, if you tell me how you're living, I'll tell you what you're thinking. And going back to the screen share for the PowerPoint, this is the last thing we had read. Insisting that you need what you don't have is insane. I love that. Relaxing and knowing. You already have everything you need to be peaceful, happy, and content right here where you are, right here and right now. You have everything you need to be happy, peaceful, content right here and right now. Relax into this knowing. And finally, Dr. Holmes, from Dr. Holmes, he quotes Jesus in the Bible where it says, therefore, if thou bring thy gift to the altar, and there remembers that thy brother hath aught against thee, that is your brother's got a problem with you. You know that you put yourself in a position, you did something, and and you know that it wasn't in the best interest. You know that if it would have been done to you, you would want him to come to you. Well, here we go. If thou bring thy gift to the altar, and there rememberest that thy brother hath aught against thee, leave there thy gift before the altar and go thy way. First be reconciled to thy brother, and then come and offer thy gift. Why, Ernest Holmes asks? Because we cannot enter into peace while we are in a state of confusion. And the Course says that, we're conflicted. We're conflicted. Doing the strain, the strain of it all. We are putting ourselves in a position where we are saying this and we're doing that. We're not being true in the four agreements. Don Miguel Ruiz, he says, be impeccable with your word. And he's not talking about, how honest you are with everybody out there, but as William Shakespeare said, to thine own self be true. To thine own self be true. The things that you're telling yourself, is this something that you would want somebody saying to you? Is it something that you need to be saying to somebody else? Is what you're saying truly helpful? Is what you're saying to them first, what you're saying to yourself? Is it truly helpful? Is what you're saying to yourself truly helpful? If it's not, and what you're saying out there isn't truly helpful either, I don't want to hear it. Tell yourself the truth. Tell yourself that you are love. Tell yourself that you are what God is. Tell yourself that your worth is already established. Tell yourself that in God all things are possible. Tell yourself that you are living and moving and having your being in God. Tell yourself, oh my God, that you can see peace instead of this nonsense. Because we cannot enter into peace while we are in a state of confusion. It cannot be done. It cannot be done. We're talking about the mental equivalent here. You cannot have all these wonderful things if you're looking at it and looking at what can't happen. Oh, this is terrible. Oh, you cannot have the peace unless you're looking at the peace. You cannot have the healing. I put that in quotation marks. You cannot have the healing when you're focusing on the suffering. You cannot. You cannot. Focus on the peace. Focus on the joy. Focus on the desire of your heart. And you'll have it. We cannot manifest love, Dr. Holmes continues. We cannot manifest love when we have a mental equivalent of hate in our hearts and minds. And that is love for self. I love myself so much that I can love you so much, that you can love you so much, that you can start loving me. That's a mental equivalent. And with that, Karen, it's 11 o'clock, but go ahead.
I just want to say that song, that beautiful song that Zulma just sang to you, I have her on video singing that. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. It's awesome, and I love it. Thank you.
Keep forgetting about that. Thank you, Karen. Thank you so much. But that's what it's about. Share the love. Be the love that you want. Be the love that you are. And that's all you'll get in return. With that, Lynn, I return the mic to you.
Thank you so much, Zelma. Thank you, Karen, for being here. I've got coming up next is Teresa Gallardo. Let's see here. And let me stop this live stream.